obligation of observing?
Well, I think this goes back to the one size does not fit all, and I think the starting point is the nature of the practice and what your staffing profile has to be for that practice, and that's going to vary not only firm to firm, but within a particular firm. I think that has to be the starting point before you then worry about what shape it's all going to have. I mean, to answer that particular operational issue, how do you create the bulge in the middle? If you are, in fact, if you want that, and I think that's a real question, it's not by definition a good thing, if you are hiring and hiring a relatively small number, holding on to them, and are in a level system where you don't have to keep everybody moving up the escalator year after year after year, then theoretically you can create that bulge in the middle. There are all kinds of motivational issues and economic issues, so it's not an easy call there, but it's theoretically possible to do. I think one thing that is happening, and we've heard this around this table, is that law firms are now going back and rethinking very specifically and more analytically than they used to what their staffing profile needs to be in terms of the number of people at different levels, their billing rates. And an interesting thread here that I think needs to be underlined is what I think I heard from McKenna's approach to all of this, is that it is willing to say your compensation will be based not on you, but upon the practice area that you're in and its margin or profitability. And I hope one of the things that is happening across the associate population now, that the realities of the world have collapsed upon them all, is a recognition that we may be long past the world where your compensation is going to be tied to you as an indicator of your innate value, and is also tied to the realities of how profitable your practice area is, how profitable your firm is, and with variations allowed within a particular firm there. So all of that is a way of saying that we may be in a world that is much more flexible about what a staffing model looks like within a firm and within a practice.
I think in some ways what Steve is saying is that it may well be that profitability is going to depend more on what economists would call organizational capital in the future, as opposed to individual rainmaker capital. That providing legal services now with efficiency pressures from clients requires that you have a smart mix of resources so that you are disaggregating those elements that can be assigned to persons who aren't as high fee earners. And for each matter, that's going to be different. Right? And the firms that succeed in that system may well be those that develop organizational processes and procedures, ways of doing things, and then have the knowledge management systems so that they can return to that and don't have to invent the wheel each time. And that, I think, also, going back to something else Steve said, suggests that law firm leaders will need to be more sensitive to much of the literature coming out of organizational development and management theory, which by and large they haven't had time to focus on. And that since there is no designated management track within the typical law firm, and there may never be, because you really have to prove yourself as a lawyer first before you're given authority, this is a place I think that law schools could begin to make some contributions.